For 10 long years, the mighty walls of Troy stood unbroken, until pride became their weakness. This isn't just a myth of gods and heroes. It's a study in strategy, deception, and human error. Let's dissect the final hours of Troy Carrot, where every decision sealed its fate. Built atop cliffs, surrounded by trade routes, Troy was the jewel of the ancient world. Its wealth, its power, and its arrogance drew enemies across the sea. And so began a siege that would last a decade. 10 years of blood, valor, and frustration. Every Greek assault shattered against Troy's defenses. The city stood strong, but arrogance grows in the shadow of success. And arrogance, as history shows, is the enemy of wisdom. Troy's defenses were architectural genius, thick, multi-layered walls built for eternity. Each gate was a death trap, each tower a fortress within a fortress. The Greeks brought rams, ladders, and fire upon Troy. None made a dent. Their tactics evolved, but morale began to crumble. Inside, confidence turned to indulgence. They believed no power on earth could breach their city. But every fortress hides a weakness, and every leader has blind spots. Hector's valor kept the Greeks at bay, but his death would change everything. Complacency, the deadliest enemy within. Across the sea of despair, one man was thinking differently, Odysseus. Years of siege had drained morale. Supplies dwindled, tempers flared. Even heroes grow tired when victory feels impossible. Agamemnon's leadership faltered. The coalition was fracturing. Desperation is the mother of invention and deception. Odysseus proposed a plan, not of strength, but of psychology. A gift. A lie carved in timber and brilliance. While the Greeks pretended retreat, they built their masterpiece. They left behind emptiness and one mysterious offering. To Troy, it looked like surrender. To Odysseus, it was an invitation. They ignored the warnings. And with that choice, Troy signed its death warrant. Inside, Greek commandos waited in silence. The streets filled with song, laughter, and wine. As Troy slept, silence became its final lullaby. They waited for the signal, hearts pounding louder than the wind outside. Troy dreamed of peace, unaware that the enemy slept within its heart. Inside the hollow beast, the Greeks held their breath. Troy slept, unaware that its destroyers waited above, wrapped in silence. A masterpiece of deceit stood patient, breathing through the cracks. The sentries watched the horizon hate, not the shadow within their walls. Inside the hollow heart of their own creation, the Greeks prepared to awaken death. And as the sun rose, Troy believed the gods had smiled upon them once more. Within the hollow, the Greeks could feel dawn approaching, and with it, their vengeance. The last watchmen of Troy stood tired and blind to their final sunrise. The signal was given. No words, no sound, only intent. And as dawn fully broke, Troy's gates stood unguarded, its heart wide open. The trap was now in motion, Hela, silent, unseen, unstoppable. As the first rope touched the ground, the fate of Troy hung by a thread. From silence, shadows took form, a moment, the first step into Troy's doom. One by one, the warriors of Greece emerged, shadows reclaiming a city that once defied them. The Greeks spread through the sleeping city like smoke through cracks in stone. They moved like whispers, unseen, unheard, the harbingers of Troy's awakening doom. One turn of iron, and the gates that defied a decade of war stood helpless. The gates that held for 10 long years opened not to mercy, but to vengeance. Far beyond the shore, the Greeks waited, their vengeance set aflame with a single light. With a single spark, the silence of Troy was broken forever. Flames crawled through the veins of the city. Toward the heart of Troy they marched mendant, vengeance burning brighter than the dawn itself. Within the marble heart of Troy, victory whispered not in words, but in fire. He had conquered the unconquerable, yet in the blaze of victory, silence weighed heavier than glory. Thus perished Troy, not by God's decree, but by the blindness of men. They sailed into history current, victors of the flesh, prisoners of their deeds. Nice. When the fires died, only silence remained safe. Even the gods turned to dust, London, their silence heavier than the screams that once filled these halls. He stood where glory turned to ghosts, a victor among ruins, a god among ashes. In the wind, Troy lived on, not in stone or fire, but in the whispers of dust and memory. So the ashes became ink down, and from ruin rose a legend that no fire could erase. What's once smoke and ruined is now memory and myth. From myth to map, from ashes to archaeology. Where armies clashed, now only wind walks the walls. Every mark on this stone is a whisper, task, of triumph, of ruin, of time. The earth does not lie. It keeps our stories beneath its skin. Even shattered words carry the weight of empires. Artifacts are echoes. Silent. We gaze upon the past, yet it is the past that stares back. In the end, the earth reclaims its stories, patiently, completely. What was mortal has become eternal. Empires fall, legends fade, but stories live forever. What remains of war is silence, and the earth remembers only peace. Steel turns to dust, but stories sharpen forever. Empires rise and fall, but time marches without witness. We are the sum of what we remember and what we dare to forget. History repeats not because it forgets, but because we remember too late. And thus, in every age, man rebuilds Troy collide and forgets why it fell. The sun rises where empires once burned, proof that every ending begins again. Each generation rediscovers the same truth, that wisdom is not inherited, but earned. Knowledge is our truest inheritance, the one empire that never falls. The story ends as it began, beneath the same stars that watched Troy burn.